Coming up, we finally got the chance to go over and experience Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon while it's in its technical rehearsal phase, and boy, we got a lot to say about that. Also, we're going to tell you how you can celebrate St. Patrick's Day tomorrow at Universal Orlando, unless you're listening to this in the future, and then it really doesn't matter. And then we're going to wrap things up talking about the brand new projection show that's coming to Universal Studios Japan and not Universal Orlando or Hollywood at this current time. So, live from the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Universal edition of The Diz Unplugged. This is episode 119 of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. The Diz Unplugged Universal Edition is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Universal vacation. Please visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hey everyone, welcome to yet another episode of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. I am your host, Craig Williams, and today I am here joined alongside by my co-host of sorts, Mr. Ryno Clavin.
Namaste.
How are we doing today, Ryno?
Pretty good.
Pretty good?
Pretty good.
That sounds very good. Yeah, I'm happy about that. So, yeah, we have a really fun episode for you today. Yeah, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You know, it took us a little bit longer than we were hoping for to get on Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon, but we finally made it, and
we got stuff to say.
Yes, we
plenty.
We have plenty's stuff to say about that. I will just make that apparent. But you know, there's just a couple of things that we want to talk about before we get to that. Just because, well, it's interesting, and we'll just jump right into it and go with the first bit of news items. I want to talk about St. Patrick's Day.
All right.
Yeah.
I channel my inner Linda there for you. All right.
Good.
Okay.
Good. Yeah, so obviously we are recording this, and I don't know when you're listening to this, but we are recording this on March 16th, 2017. So that means, yes, St. Patrick's Day is tomorrow, and you know, there's obviously a lot of ways to celebrate at Universal Orlando, whether you are going to City Walk, you're going in the parks, staying at the hotels. Either way, you can find a way to get into the St. Patrick's Day spirit. You know, of course, we recommend, even though the food's not great, if you are going into Universal Studios Florida, why not go to Finnegan's in order to celebrate?
Of course, yeah.
So, you know, again, food not great, but you can still get all your good drinks while you're in there. You know, some
corned beef, I think,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So there is enough to be able to get you in that good spirit for there. But Universal suggests celebrating in a different way, and I actually highly recommend it. You know, we've talked about it in terms of with Mardi Gras, how you can celebrate, but there is another holiday to celebrate at Pat O'Brien's. Again, that is St. Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why I was trailing that out so long there. But there is...
I was like, I actually didn't think you were talking about St. Patrick's Day at that point. So I was like, oh my gosh, is there another holiday?
Yeah, I think genuinely I just lost track of which holiday I was talking about at that point. But yeah, there's going to be a huge St. Patrick's Day party tomorrow at Pat O'Brien's. The event actually kicks off at 2 o'clock p.m. and it will go all the way until 2 a.m. Yes, that's right. Uninhibited 12 hours of fun. Do you want to hear something even better?
I do.
If you get there before 7 o'clock, it includes free admission, something that doesn't happen just very often. Of course, Pat O'Brien's, you know, it is a restaurant at that time of the day before it switches over fully into a bar at night. You know, go in there, get yourself a hurricane, get one of the other specialty drinks. There's going to be plenty of other specialty stuff happening there. I couldn't think of the right way to say it. I'll just put it this way. There will be special entertainment there.
They're offering special offerings. That's what I was saying earlier. It's hard not to say it twice.
Yes.
So great. I lost it.
Do you want to hear their specialty
offering
love to. That they're having in terms of
menus? Yeah.
Everyone's favorite ex-Disney band, Off Kilter.
Oh,
so
snap.
they will be performing
In
at Pat
their
O'Brien's.
kilts?
I would assume.
I would hope.
I would assume, as always. So I know they're a big fun act that everyone loves to go see, especially since they've been away from Disney. So yeah, might as well get out there if you're doing that. After 7:00, it will turn into $10 for general admission and $15 for VIP admission. So if you can't get there before 7:00, definitely get there early. Celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Have a fuzzy leprechaun.
What? Okay, one, we're going to need to talk about that. Number two, what does a VIP admission get you?
I'm guessing general admission gets you to just in and walk around, and VIP admission will probably get you seating or exclusive seating in a good
Interesting.
place.
Okay.
So
It's not too bad, though. Not a bad price.
Yeah, I honestly didn't look at the details on what gets you what, but I
Now,
just
number
saw
two,
the prices.
the most important thing. What is a fuzzy leprechaun?
A fuzzy leprechaun.
I see the picture in this big glass you have here.
It's a mix of vodka, peach schnapps, and blue curacao with a citrusy kick. This green drink will put you in the they say St. Patty's Day.
I thought you said sink.
No,
Okay.
apparently I learned last year you're not supposed to just say St. Patty's Day.
Why?
And it also comes in with the spelling. It's if you spell it,
With
it
the
has to
two
be
Ds?
the two D's and not the two T's. I'm not Irish at all, so
I am from an incredibly Irish-centric area of Massachusetts, so I'm just very confused about it. I didn't know that was a thing. You don't say St. Patty's Day.
yeah.
It's always spelled with two D's when you say it like that.
I think the rules are it has to be spelled with two D's. And you can't spell it with the two T's, and you can't say like St. Patty's Day. It just has to be like St. Patty's. I don't know.
Interesting. There's a lot of
I don't know.
stipulations here.
There's a lot of stipulations that you Irish folk made up. I didn't make the rules. I'm English in a mutt, so doesn't matter. Or my ancestors are. I'm American, and that's what I am, and that's all I'm going to be.
I tried to just Google it too, and there's a really weird. Paddy is derived from the Irish padrig, the source of those mysterious emerald double Ds. Paddy is the diminutive of Patricia or a burger, and just not something you call a fella. There isn't a sinner in Ireland that would refer to a Patrick as Patty. It's as simple as that. Okay, it's not very simple because that sentence makes no sense whatsoever, so this is just one of those St. Patrick Day mysteries we may never know.
Yes, like kind of like the Great Pumpkin.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
So let's
Only a lot more drinking.
So look forward to that tomorrow night. I won't be there. I'll be somewhere else, I'm sure, but a lot of people will be there. What I do want to talk about next is very, very exciting. You've heard us mention it here and there on the show before. I believe we talked about it at the beginning of the year when we were talking about rumors heavily, and that is the Hogwarts Castle projection show. So we were hoping that we would hear news about it coming to Universal Orlando, hopefully sooner than later. We were even hoping that there would be an announcement. We were hoping for the announcement at a celebration of Harry Potter. That came and went, didn't happen. But, of course, today it was announced that it would be coming to Universal Studios Japan because, Japan's getting all the love lately. They're getting a new giant Despicable Meme land. They get Super Nintendo World first.
I know. Japan, it's the place to be.
It is. It is the place to be. It's the place we need to go.
The Death Eaters, everything. It's just...
So
this photo looks cool, too, when you get to it.
Exactly. So for everyone watching, you're able to see a look at the concept art. It's only to illustrate the concept. But it may not actually happen this way. But yeah, starting April, I don't have my notes in front of me. There they are. April 21st, 2017, right before Golden Week, which I guess is a big holiday in Japan. They will start this brand new Hogwarts Castle projection show. And the release goes on saying this. Guests will be immersed in J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World as the students of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry fight off Dementors who descend across the Black Lake for an unforgettable show that'll leave fans surprised and excited. It has me excited. So the only thing that doesn't have me excited with this is they actually, on the press release, it said it's only supposed to run through November 5th, 2017.
A limited release?
Yeah.
It seems like this should be their permanent thing. Maybe they're... I don't know how their seasons work in terms of like what's a peak season for them because I'm sure it's not Christmas season.
Well,
so it's just
the one bizarre thing that I thought about this. I said, okay, well, maybe it's because they're planning on changing it up for the Christmas period. Because I feel like this show would still fit in with Halloween, and of course, as you mentioned, they had the Halloween. They had like the Dementors, or not the Dementors, but they had the Death Eaters. You didn't even mention that. I wanted to mention that they had the Death Eaters show.
Oh yeah,
where they were battling for Halloween, and they had like trick or treating, and so I feel like
amazing.
this would fit in with that. But yeah, so if they switch it up for Christmas, that might be something different. That might be why it has an end date. Here's a little bit more information on it. The night show in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter will use magnificent projection mapping to bring the magic and wonder of Harry Potter to life in a way never before seen at Universal Studios Japan. The immersive show that will leave fans in awe unfolds above the Black Lake with Hogwarts Castle serving as the backdrop and focal point. The incredible technology will brilliantly light up the night sky as Dementors fly ominously along the castle. So I think it sounds absolutely incredible. It sounds exactly like the type of show that they need to have for this. The only problem is there's still no announcement of whether or not we're going to get it.
Well, it's still that rumor because they took down all the trees of the castle,
They did.
and I feel like you were right. Like if they were going to announce it, they would have announced it for the celebration, but maybe it's just not functioning the way they want it to just yet. I don't know.
The only other thing I can think of is while it seems like it would be a great fit for the audience in Universal Studios Japan, maybe it won't work out so well for an American audience, especially one that is very heavy on bringing young kids to see Hogwarts.
True.
Having Dementors in. Having them projected all along the castle, stuff like that might be extremely frightening for younger kids who are just wanting to watch a show.
Get over it.
with Harry.
You never heard of the prison Mike story? What it's like in prison with all the Dementors swooping in.
I have heard that story. But yeah, so I think that. We have Dementors inside Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, but that is a height requirement, and a lot of times you will walk away and hear kids saying that was the scariest part. Adults usually think the spiders were the worst part.
Sometimes
Kids think the Dementors were
dragon's
scarier.
head is a little too close for my comfort. Like if you sit on when you're looking at the cart and you go to sit down, if you sit in the far left seat, I feel like you get really close to that dragon's mouth, and I do get nervous in the Dementors. There is a point where I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like, please stop, because I like to get into it, but I'm also terrified of them.
Yeah.
As one should be.
Yeah, as one should be. So I hope that, this is just the first step in us getting ours. I think there's still a lot of logistics problems moving along with that. There will be a lot of congestion going across there while you're trying to watch it, but if it happens often enough on a nightly basis, maybe it won't be that bad.
No, so neither of us can speak to Japan, I'm assuming.
No.
But is their layout exactly the same with like the bridge and where the castle is? Because in California, where you view the castle from isn't quite the same. It's in the same relative, like, okay, to the side is the hippogriff and whatever, but it's also a lot closer to you because the forced perspective is different and there's no bridge. So.
I believe it's kind of the same thing as Universal Studios Hollywood.
Okay.
It's not the exact same as ours, but that's very exciting. So if you go to Japan in the next future, anyone who's listening to this, please let us know how it is. I don't know if we'll get the chance to actually make it there ourselves to see it, but I'd love to see all about it, hear all about it.
A listener actually did send me an email with some photos that I believe is from the Japan one, so we'll have to sort through those, and maybe there's a couple we can share or something. Thank you for who sent me that. I think I may or may not have responded.
Well, now we are responding.
Yes.
Lately. That's what we do. So that is all I have for this week's recent news. So do we want to drop in with the big stuff, what we're here to talk about today?
The Fallon ride.
Hashtag fall on ride. Boy, we have a lot to say about that. But as it is something, it is something new. a lot of people haven't had the chance to see it yet because it still is in technical rehearsal. Grand opens on April 6th. We actually do have a little bit of a video for you just to give you an idea of what's happening in the ride. So this is the point where we get to where I tell you this is a spoiler. The video is about 7.5 minutes long to 8 minutes long. So at this point, if you do not want to watch it, please, wait 8 minutes and then skip ahead until the very end. This is not of the ride itself. This is just of the queue.
Yeah.
But as we've kind of murmured about, and we can now confirm, the queue is the absolute best part of the ride. So this is, if you don't want to spoil anything in the experience, please hit pause. Go 8 minutes into the future and then watch us again. If you're listening to this, it doesn't matter. You're not going to hear any of this stuff anyways, but the video will be on youtube.com/WDWinfo. So without further ado, here we go.
I'm getting so hot, I'm gonna take my clothes off. With a little bit of up, with a little bit of up, let it all hang out. With a little bit of up, with a little bit of up, all up in here I hear. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind, up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me go all up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me act a fool, up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me lose my cool, up in here, up in here.
Wait, fellas! I forgot how we do this. No worries, Toddy, we got your back.
This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Our hands are in the air and waving from here to there. You're an OG Mac or a wannabe player.
See, the hood's been good to me ever since I was a lowercase G, but now I'm a big G. Girl, you see, I got the money,
$100 bills, y'all.
kind of buzzed, it's all because
This is how we do it.
South Central does it like nobody does.
This is how we do it.
Call the neighbors who got much flavor.
This is how we do it.
And I'm never going back on an old school truck.
This is how we do it. So tip up your cup, throw your hands up in. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind in here.
Thank you so much, everybody, and welcome to 30 Rock. Like Jimmy said, we are the Ragtime Gals.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Soon your color will be called and you'll be on your way to an exclusive taping of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, another color has been called, and that color is purple.
The color is purple.
Until your color has been called, we're going to keep singing non-stop for the next 30 minutes.
No, we're not doing that. I can't do that.
What?
No.
Jimmy needs us. They need us.
Sorry.
We need the rest of the old vocal box.
Oh.
Yes, tired box.
Well, I think I know a way that can get you some vocal rest.
Oh, let me smell.
It involves one of our favorite bits from the Tonight Show.
I'm in.
It's lip sync battle.
I'm out.
Hey, what? Hey,
No. Listen, last time we did this, you gave Todd all the cool songs, and you gave me all the girly songs.
Man, that is crazy talk. Song selection is totally random. Remember, audience, in this head-to-head lip sync battle, each contestant gets one surprise song and 2 backup dancers. The winner is determined by your applause. Audience, are you ready? Nice. Battlers, are you ready? Ready.
Whatever.
Alrighty, up first we have Todd with a little bit of Barry White. Hit it! Nice job. Oh, lovely moment. Come on, we gotta finish. We gotta finish, Todd. Dan, I think it's time for you to prove, buddy. Are you worth it?
What do you mean?
Hit it!
No, we talked about this. I can't do this. I'm not doing this. For her. No, please. Guys, stop with the hips. I'm not doing it. Stop.
Just give me you. Just give me you. That's all I wanna do. And if what they say is true, if it's true, I will give it to you. I may take all that stuff, guaranteed I can back it up. I think I'ma call you bluff. Hurry up, I'm walking down from. Give it to me, I'm
for the duet round. Two battlers on one classic duet. Are you ready to have the time of your lives? Hit it! Nice job, gentlemen! Alrighty, audience, it is time to determine a winner by your applause. If you think the winner was Todd, let's hear it. If you think the winner was Dan, let's hear it. Our winner is Dan! Alright, did everyone have a good time?
Hashtag the panda.
Make some noise for hashtag the dancing panda, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, hashtag. Now, I know that you're excited to meet some of our amazing guests out here, but we love to watch you dance. Hit it! I'm so sorry. Alright, I'm gonna leave you alone now, hashtag, so you can meet some of our guests, okay? But first, hit it!
This is a drawing that I made of a pegacorn that's a unicorn and a pegasus and one that is my...
Well, that's all the good time we have. We'd love to stay, but we gotta go.
1, 2, a 1, 2, sing.
We gotta go, we gotta go. We know you wanna hear some more, but now it's time for us to go. Time to jet, time to bounce, right time cows are peace in out. Peace. Audience, goodbye from your 5 favorite guys. I'm here to say to you and you and you. Give it up, give us a hand. We got a blood spots to stand. Right time gals.
So that was your look at Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon's queue. And, well, not really so much a queue, but more like waiting areas, holding areas, as we've kind of mentioned before, because there actually isn't a queue per se. It is, it's all part of the virtual line experience that is happening with Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon. What should we shorten this to now? Should we shorten it to Race? Should we shorten it to Jimmy Fallon? Should we just call it Fallon?
I think Jimmy Fallon's probably better.
Yeah?
I don't want to call it a race.
So we'll call it Fallon's. We'll call it Fallon's. So, and that's how we will refer to it for the rest of the show.
Fallon's, the local pizza place that's kind of garbage.
Not too far off there. So let's dive into it completely. So
Yeah. Well, how do you want to start this? You want to describe what it's like, the attraction, the experience of going in and through it, or
So obviously, right now there are technically 2 ways of experiencing. I'll say 3 ways with the potential for a 4th way. So the first thing you can do to experience Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon, is you can either Fallon's. To get Fallon's, I'm going to keep saying it over and over again. You'll have to remind me. To experience Fallon Ride, calling it Fallon Ride. To experience Fallon Ride, you need a virtual line ticket, essentially. So there are the two ways to get that. So you can either get in the park and you can use the Universal Orlando app, the official app. No other app will work for that. And you can reserve a wait time for Fallon Ride. If you don't want to do that, or you don't have a smartphone, or whatever, you think the government's behind it, just go up to one of the
Sound like my
virtual...
mother.
Just go up to one of the virtual line kiosks, and you'll be able to get a paper ticket for Fallon Ride, and that will tell you when you are supposed to come back for your window to get into the actual experience. So if you don't get to go in right away, you have to wait a little bit. One of the things I do highly recommend for your first time especially is make sure you see the test seats that are currently sitting out to the left of the entrance of the attraction. So you would have saw a brief glimpse of the test seats in the video that we had there. And this is kind of a spoiler for the ride itself. This is one of the most unique and
Unique New York. Unique New
yes,
York.
and not in a good way. It's unique in a bad way kind of seating.
The
for
seats,
Fallon.
yeah.
It's essentially
okay. Supposedly they're modeled after what the seats look like in the Tonight Show. I have never been. I have some friends, and I forgot to ask last night who have been, and I was going to ask them because they look like unfinished wood.
Yeah.
You know, it's that carpentry, like somebody put the seats together. I was on, I got to watch a viewing of Jimmy Kimmel's show in California, and those were like old school movie theater seats. They were just like the half back, plush cushion, whatever. These were like
Posturepedic seats.
yeah,
Like they were trying to
like pushing your spine forward, arching your back, so your butt goes really far down and away. I popped the B, by the way.
Yeah, you popped that butt real hard, and the worst part about this, the worst part about this is actually because like what we're saying, your back is so straight, it feels like your butt slides back way further than it ever should. But where it comes into play is you can actually use the test seat to try out the whole seatbelt mechanism.
Yeah.
The seatbelt is in a very awkward far back place. And I will just say it will be a struggle, and
It's going to impact loading time.
yes,
For sure.
no beating around the bush here. I have, I am not a giant gentleman. I am tall in my size, and I have a bit of what we would call a beer belly of sorts. And it usually never affects me on rides, but like I even had to push some fat from my stomach aside to look down and
Tuck it
find
away.
the seatbelt. It was not simple. So if you don't get to like go into the ride straight away, please find the test seat. If you use it as a photo op if you're uncomfortable with the idea of it. It's what we always tell people all the time. Just act like you're going to take a photo, and it doesn't matter. But really check it out, because you don't want to waste all the time waiting and then get to the ride, find out that you can't do it, or be extremely uncomfortable. So always my recommendation.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a bizarre. I can't. After riding the ride, I was like, why did they design them like this? Like, so you're almost like leaned forward on the upper half, but you don't. There's never a reason for that during the ride. So I don't know if that was just a weird. I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, it is very bizarre. But so it's your time to finally go in. You hit your window. Well, it's time to actually go in. There is one more option that you can have in order to get in the line. They haven't opened it up yet. They did design the attraction so they can use it, but that is an actual standby line. So
This I don't understand.
No, this makes perfect sense. So if you paid attention to when Despicable Me and Shrek were testing, while some days they were testing where they only did virtual line as well as express, they also ran tests where they had a standby line that would get to be very, very long because they only pulsed people in when they actually had less people return than what actually that got the wait times for that time period. So when they designed Fallon, they actually did design the queue to have a separate standby queue that, it will be used, I'm sure, but it is going to be very busy because basically, with the way the whole system is working, they are allotting so many tickets being given out in a day, so that way the ride doesn't get backed up or anything. And because they're only allotting so many, it would take a lot of people not showing up for their wait time in order to actually get on the attraction. So it's one of those things. If you do choose to wait standby, if they have the line open, you will have to prepare yourself for extraordinarily long lengths. It's not worth it. A better option is right now during testing, like they did with other attractions, and they will probably do in the future, after 7 o'clock, it will essentially go into standby mode, where if you didn't get that virtual line pass, you can enter in via standby, and you'll be able to experience the attraction that way. So that's what I would recommend at this current time. If you don't get that virtual line pass, just find a way to go standby. So, Ryno, when you go into the building, do you remember what you first start seeing?
You see the old NBC, like the progression of the NBC logo through the years on the walls, right? Is that
that's
what it was.
Well, before that, you get your pass.
Yeah, that looks like it's the peacock symbol, the NBC thing.
And it will be in a different color, of course, to coordinate with when you are allowed upstairs, as well as then when you're allowed to get onto the actual ride itself. So it does all the colors of the peacock, plus one very special color that we are not allowed to talk about. So we will not, but you might see it every once in a while. Don't be alarmed. They are fine. It's special. It's special, but yeah. So you get your color pass, and you start making your way through, and you see the progression of NBC. Of course, they're promoting shows on one side as well too.
Were they
on the left side of the wall? They had.
Oh yeah, that's right, because they had the poster for John Lithgow's new show. Because I saw the poster and I was like, "Is this an old show?" And then I saw the I can't remember the name of it, but it just started this week or something.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was there, and it reminded me, hey, I want to watch that show because I love John Lithgow.
Yeah. So you kind of see that, and then the first main area of the holding room is where you have kind of your Hall of Fame of all the Tonight Show hosts, and this really is kind of the standout for me personally. This was the standout section. Let's not beat around the bush. It's not anything too fancy. The display cases for like Steve Allen and for Jack Parr are definitely on the small side. Johnny Carson gets a nice big window. Jay Leno gets a huge window. Jimmy Fallon gets a decent sized window. Conan got some love.
The smallest of all the windows.
Yeah, it wasn't the smallest, and it's not just about the size of the window, but what's in it. So, like, I loved with Conan's that they actually had Triumph.
They all say
hidden in the bottom corner.
Oh, so, that's cool.
Yeah, that was.
Each one of the windows has like a little bit of memorabilia from the show. They also all have a TV in it that's showing the episodes of them from the show, and all the TVs are specific to their time period. So they're all authentic TVs that would have been the normal household television at that time. And there was also a fun fact: you're supposed to be able to hear each one of the things, but they're having difficulty with the speakers in there.
Yeah.
Where when everything was playing at the same time, nobody could hear what any of them were saying. So they've muted them all except for Jimmy Fallon's right now. So you're just going to hear Jimmy Fallon yelling over and over again. But hopefully,
that's pretty normal.
Hopefully,
yeah,
it gets changed, because I would have really liked to see some Johnny Carson or some of the older stuff that you never see. And I do like that Johnny Carson's window had the headdress he wears as the fortune teller. I can't remember the name. Michael Scott does it sometimes. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When he reads the future, whatever. That was in there, and that was apparently donated by his family, too. So that's like an actual like, sometimes they say it's a prop, but it's
a replication. It's the actual. And I enjoy that they have some Emmys in there. It's always cool seeing awards. Yeah, but I love this. There's genuinely, there's not a lot that you can actually see in this area. I won't try to tell you that this is a museum piece that you can spend an hour walking around looking.
A couple minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the time that it takes to wait for your color to change so you can start moving upstairs, that's about That's about the period that it will take to actually go through and really take a lot of time to look at all the different unique props that are in there.
So I was told that it's actually not, that first room is not considered a waiting area anymore. So that's an area you can walk through and look in, and then you can just go right upstairs. Because originally it was, the first holding area was downstairs in that room, and then the second area was upstairs in the lounge. And now what they're trying to do is actually test it, so it's just one waiting area. So you can go in, and then whatever the color is, it doesn't matter. You can just go upstairs.
I'll be honest, everyone was just kind of standing.
Yeah.
And like stopped. So I just assumed that it was still that way where you had to wait for your color before you went up for the next time.
No, because this is the opening and the testing, and that's what the soft opens are all about. And I honestly, that's one of my favorite things about Universal is how far ahead they start doing things like this, because it makes it so that when the ride is actually, it hits its opening date, it's running very well. So it's not like, it's the first day, we have to give them some slack. Because no, none of that.
Well,
so,
I don't know when we would have ever experienced an attraction opening on opening day and having terrible problems.
I know that's a joke.
It was a joke about when you spent 7 hours in line for Frozen Ever After.
And that, you know what? And that's where I will say that Universal gets all my love in the world because they tested their ride ahead of time. So... Yeah. But yeah, so that's from what I understood is that they're trying to make that whole new type of experience a little more fluid, and so they really are taking into account the feelings that the guests have as they go through.
That's great.
So if somebody asks you questions about it, give them the feedback when you're done.
Absolutely. Don't just avoid them and walk with your head down and run away. So I
try, but they follow.
You do go upstairs. When we went upstairs, it was almost perfectly timed that as soon as we got up there, Jimmy Fallon came on the screen to announce that the Ragtime Gals were going to come out. And so for those of you who don't watch Fallon, the Ragtime Gals, I guess, are a barber shop quartet group that he is also a part of when he's on the show. And they sing pop songs as part of the barbershop quartet. Putting aside the style of the music, how they sing it, all that stuff, you know what? It's cute little entertainment. They only did a 5-minute set while they were out there. It was no longer than that. While the time where they were out there, they did the opening that opening number that they did. This is how we do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember.
No, that
anymore.
wasn't the opening one, but they did. This is how we do it. Yeah.
And then they moved into doing the lip sync battle, of course, and that's always interesting. And then they wrapped up the show with just one more song to say goodbye. Apparently, right now there are 2 different shows that they are doing. So not much diversity. This is just another one of those nice little extras, like when we got this character in the Kong queue, that I hope it sticks around for a long time. But I could totally see this eventually just
being
disappearing.
Like a cost-cutting thing, yeah.
Yeah, and eventually, because they do have a giant screen behind them, so they could easily just play clips all the time and play clips of these guys. They don't need them coming out.
Yeah.
But it was cute for what it was.
It was good, yeah. And yeah, it's interesting when there's actual entertainment and people and they come down and they interact with you. You know what I mean? They didn't... The next... entertainment did.
Yes.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought they sang well.
Yeah.
There was a moment, you can see it in the video that you played, that I felt so like that moment when you're like, I want to rip my skin off because I feel so uncomfortable for the person who's doing this right now. It feels so awkward and cheesy, is when the gentleman did the oh my God, in the lip sync battle. It was the guy who went second. I can't remember the song though.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like whatever, but it was fun. I appreciated it being there.
Yeah, definitely a nice little added touch, as you mentioned. Then another well-known thing from the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon comes out. That, of course, is #the Panda, something you were super excited about.
I love the panda.
And yeah, as he saw he did his little shtick as he comes on.
I loved him though, because he spent a lot of time with me. Like he was into me.
Yeah, no, he was.
I have a thing with pandas.
Yeah, you are into bears. There you go.
I'm going to say it.
Not gonna say it. Okay.
Yeah.
No. So yeah. Hashtag the panda came out, did his little shtick with the fun music and the noises and that's. For me, I don't understand that character still. This was just like a representation of, okay, this is a bunch of stuff from a show that I don't watch that I really don't understand. I guess I can see where the humor would come into it, but, I walked away from saying this. I didn't necessarily love the entertainment that they had offered here, but I thought, for the people out there who do enjoy this kind of thing, this is perfect for them, and it's better than not offering anything at all.
Yeah.
I think I would spend more time in the kind of seating area playing the interactive games that they have.
Oh, yeah, I was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
Actually, because you walk in and there's just couches along the wall, and with the chargers built in, so you can charge your cell phone if you got the cord. Up there,
and that's a good thing to mention is that in this seating area, they have these computer desks, and that's where they have the games. You might have saw that in the video. That's where you can send your thank you notes. If you so choose to, there's lots of little cool things to do. You can spend a little bit of time just hanging out there and going through all the games and having a good time. But the best part is they do have USB and actual outlets built into all the chairs that are around there. Not all of them are plugged in yet, so that will keep happening where they're going to keep getting more plugged in. But you'll be able to go up there, and it's some place that I said, I would get a virtual line time to go into this attraction just to sit upstairs and charge my phone. I don't even know if I would necessarily go on.
We even asked. We were like, "Is this a thing? Can we just come up here and hang out?" And they're like, "You can't really come up till you're in that wait window. But once you're in the window, you can stay up there as long as you want." Because they said once your color goes, you don't necessarily have to go in with that color. You can go within any color after that. If you miss the window because you're enjoying the entertainment, you can stay and watch the entertainment and go in with the next group.
Yeah. So I think that's a really nice little touch to it. Of course, you saw and mentioned they play little clips throughout as well too. What's the girl that he does?
Ow. I can't. Sarah with an H.
Puppies.
Sarah with Sarah with an H or Sarah without an H? Sarah without an H because H's are ow.
Yeah.
I love puppies. This is my stepdad Garrett.
So there was that. Which
Garrett, nobody cares.
I found that super obnoxious, but
if you haven't seen the music video with will.i.am, that's the only one of those skits I really like. Well, I like the one with that one and the one with it's Zac Efron and we were just watching the clip from Zack and Miri. Who is that?
Justin Long?
No. The main guy with the curly hair. I can't remember his name right now.
Seth Rogen.
Yeah, Seth Rogen. I don't know why I couldn't remember his name, but Seth Rogen and Zac Efron, and there's a funny skit with them. So I wonder if they'll play that. But we have to backpedal for a second because I didn't talk about the tables that you can play the games on. That you said they're all 8-bit games that are designed with Jimmy Fallon in them.
Yeah.
And Hashtag and I had a little date, and he showed me how to play it. And so, did you want to talk about the Twister reference that was in there? There's a bunch of little references to Bill Paxton.
Well, that's outside the attraction.
No. In the digital game, there is too.
Oh, so, I didn't know there was.
Jimmy Fallon on his show does these thank you notes. Yeah. I don't watch Jimmy Fallon. Craig has broken his chair.
I broke my chair.
Oh my goodness. Well,
sound effects.
Well, I will. What's the word when you? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm flustered now. No, so I forgot what I was talking about.
The Twister references.
Okay,
you got to go because I didn't know about these references.
Jimmy,
I didn't see them.
I thought you were listening to the lady when she was talking to me. So you go down, sit at the tables. First of all these little tables with the computer screens in them, they're miniature versions of the Tonight Show desk. Is what they're modeled after. And if you play the touch screen on there, you can play games or you can send thank you notes. And the thank you notes are for whatever, all different reasons and everything like that. And there's one that's thank you for all the water and the humidity and the rain, Florida, or something like that. But if you click that one and you open it, there's a picture, and the picture is Bill Paxton with the rain coming onto him from Twister. So they included that.
Okay, so yeah, I totally. I mean, that was in the video, and I saw it, but I did not connect on that was Bill Paxton.
Yeah. Well, because he's looking straight up, so it's when she showed it, I was like, what? And then I was like, oh, there's also a stapler somewhere on the way that my friend was pointing out that in one of the scenes or setups. There's like an office looking thing. He says it says B. Paxton on the side of that, and they added that for the passing. Some of it is reference to the fact that it's occupying Twister's old area, and some of it I think they pushed a little more because of after his passing, unfortunately.
Yeah, so just to refresh memories, that is Bill Paxton right there. So that's cool. That's neat.
Yeah. I thought that was a really sweet, like a nice little touch, you know.
Yeah, that is.
So I there's some of those all the way through. This sprinkled there, and we'll talk about it a little more when we get into the ride too that are in there.
Yeah, and it's about time to move into there. So, you know, this part of the whole queue, A+ for it. You know, while it's not my style of everything, I truly believe this is the future of how all attractions should be. It was a nice experience. It was a very nice experience. It was you still had the wait, but you didn't feel like you were waiting. And I think that is the ultimate way to get the most out of a theme park experience. So your color goes off. You're allowed to move into the next kind of queue area to start getting placed into your actual rows for your vehicle. The vehicle setup, once you get inside, is, you know, it looks like almost a set of bleachers.
Yeah.
That's kind of built in. There are 6 different rows of 12 seats each, so it will seat 72 people. We're told that there are 2 theaters that are going to be available. Right now, only one of them is running.
And they only seat about 80 people in each theater, I think. Or
72.
Okay, it was under 80. Okay.
It was 6 rows of 12, so 72. Okay. And so very low capacity in general for this. It's not as much as I was expecting. Twister 8 people up in terms of, and I didn't mean that as a pun, but yeah, Twister could fit a lot of people in there. So this is definitely on the lower side, but yeah, it's kind of like Despicable Me. There's a person there that's counting off who's going into what row and placing you in and just getting you in the perfect order. But instead of like Despicable Me, it is just that everyone is in one giant car together instead of multiple throughout the room. So this is where we are going to get into some spoilers with the ride. So if you don't want to hear anything, we'll just go ahead and give you our review of the ride right now. It was bad.
It was
Yeah, it was not good. So check out the show notes page later for all.
Yeah. If you don't want to hear about specifics, and people, so if you are somebody who doesn't want to hear about specifics and you're curious about the motion sickness thing, it will give you motion sickness.
Yeah. It will give you motion sickness. The ride is incredibly smooth because we found out that it is actually not a simulator built on hydraulics. It's actually 100% electric. We were told it is the first of its kind.
Oh, cool.
With that system. That may or may not be true, but that's what we were told. And you can not visibly, you can definitely tell, you can feel it. It is so much smoother than your typical simulator. It all feels flowing together. So while it does feel
designed, I was told it was designed like a plate too, the way it moves. So if you're somebody who is getting sick and you want less motion, you'd want to sit in the center.
Exactly. So that's your tips for the ride. Sit in the center if you don't want to get sick, but you'll probably still get sick anyways, and they have a nice courtesy bathroom at the end of it if you need to clean yourself up. But the content of the ride itself is bad. So here we go into the spoilers. Okay. Sorry for everyone else that we missed, but So
they load us in. We already talked about how difficult it was. From the moment you sit to when the ride actually gets started, and again, this is a preview. It took an unusual amount of time to get started.
Yeah, the loading process was almost longer than the ride itself. Mostly because of 2 reasons. One, the seatbelt issue that we talked about already, which is why I told you to use the test seats out front. Yeah. And second, then this is very unique for Universal. A lot of their attractions, they want to physically pull on your ride mechanism or anything. Like a Dragon Challenge, we pulled on the harness and the seatbelt ourselves. This, because of how it's set up, your attendant can actually go all the way across the row. So it has to go into Disney style, where they use a flashlight and tell you to pull on the red strap. And this process took forever. And if you're an adult, you have to pull on your own strap. And so this is where, people weren't paying attention, language barriers, this, that, and the other. It took forever. The team will get used to it, and it should be something that guests should be familiar with if they've been to any theme park before, putting a seatbelt in and pulling on a strap. But there is definitely a learning curve. So
Yes, it was. Well, even me though, I was like, "What's the where are they talking about? Where did it go?" Because it was like tucked behind
it was
me.
it was deep. I always look before I get in to know where the seatbelt goes.
That's smart.
That's what I do though. So basically, you find out in the pre-show after the Roots wrap all the safety precautions and annoying Sarah and Gary that we don't care how you spell his last name. After they get kicked out of the taping, then we all move into the show.
Gary?
Yeah, I said Gary.
Garrett. His name is Garrett.
Whatever.
The stepfather Garrett.
I don't-
Garr. Ow! Nobody cares, Garrett.
I don't care. I can't tell you how little I care about all this and the characters that are in it. So yeah, you move into the show, and that's Jimmy Fallon's there in his Tonight Rider.
It opens in the widest shot ever of I'm watching it and I'm wondering what the mechanics were involved that filmed this attraction.
Yeah, and I guess it is when you move into it, you see a giant curtain in front of you that says the name of everything, and it is a giant IMAX screen in front of you, larger than the one that's in Despicable Me. Not quite on the level of The Simpsons, somewhere like right in between, but more like Despicable Me because it's not quite as curved as The Simpsons is. So the curtains open up and Jimmy Fallon pulls up on his Tonight Rider, and we're getting ready to start the race. It's him against the audience, and there's spoilers obviously in here, but not a lot. You set off into the streets. You first start going out through the studio, and then you make your way. You make your way through the streets, and kind of like the first main stopping point in the ride, I guess, is when Jimmy Fallon gets very far ahead of you, so he stops for pizza. So if you've heard anything about this ride yet, you've probably heard a lot about the pizza and the pizza smell.
Yeah, I didn't smell the pizza. I found that out today. Hector in the chat said it, and I was like, I didn't smell anything during the ride.
I smelled the pizza, but I hate the smell of pizza. It's like
you don't like the smell of pizza?
No. I like the smell of real pizza. I hate the smell of fake pizza.
Like when the chips that are flavored like
yes,
pizza. Yeah,
that exactly.
Also, his name is Gary. You were right. I was wrong. Oh, sorry.
Again, I don't care. Yeah. I literally could care less about this, the characters. So yeah, and I guess in this scene, when he stops for pizza, Jimmy Fallon actually put his wife and his wife and kids into the side corner. So keep an eye out for the only actual other humans in the scene, because that's where my first complaint comes in with this attraction. Besides, what's his name? Steve? Is that the name of the co-host?
Oh, okay. I didn't even know what the stepdad's name is. Now you're asking
Steve,
me what the stepdad is.
Whatever. And then the Roots.
Announcer?
Yeah. I think it's Steve. He feels like a Steve.
Steve. It's Steve Higgins.
Higgins, yeah. So besides Higgins and then the Roots, basically everyone else in this attraction is just a computer-generated bit. And I don't know, Ryno. In my opinion, the CG in this ride was just absolutely awful.
Well, it's entirely CG, right? None of it's real.
Minus the Roots, and I know you were looking down at chat, so you probably didn't hear me say it. Minus the Roots and Higgins and Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Fallon's wife.
Okay, yeah, those people. And even there is a digital Jimmy Fallon at one point. But the opening of the set. So are they just all on a green screen, or they really filmed that in his set?
I would say it's probably a green screen.
Okay, because that was my thing, is that it already has a weird, unrealistic feel to it when it opens, because what I said, the shot is like too wide or something. It's just like, what camera is capable of capturing that? It's not a 70 millimeter camera, or lens, but anyway, yeah, the CG becomes, it's weird.
Yeah, and then, the ride takes you a bunch of weird places. It's just not on the streets of New York. Before you know it, you are down underwater, where you almost get attacked by a shark that is very Jaws-like, wink, wink. And
this is where the ride took the turn for me. But
you had to have your water effects.
Yes, I know. That's what I thought when we went underwater too. I was like, well, it wouldn't be a simulator in Disney World or Universal without the spraying of water on somebody at some point.
It was better than the random. You ended up down in a subway and almost get hit by a train.
But that part, okay. So the parts where like he leaves the show, he's in the city, he busts through the wall, he goes into the subway. I don't. That part was fine for me because that's what it is. We're racing through New York. Even the river. Even when we dive in the river, I'm like, okay, we're in the river. But the fact that a giant shark, like, I get that that's a reference to Jaws, I guess, but it's still like.
And
is
I don't
that a
even
thing?
know.
Or
I don't even know if these references are actually
intentional.
real. And yeah, I mean, because we were told that the Jaws was a reference. Obviously, I would look at the subway train car and say that that's obviously a reference to Earthquake. But that's just a loose representation on, well, a shark could go with Jaws. The subway could go with Earthquake.
I mean, it was a great white shark, I think.
Yeah, later on, as you make your way to the flying portion, after you're out of the water and you go to the flying portion, you fly past the Empire State Building, where instead of King Kong on the building, you have hashtag the panda.
Who's 300 feet tall. Why are you 300 feet tall? No explanation. That's fine. It's fine. I'm not looking for science here.
Yeah.
Is that that
because,
part, or is that... I thought that we go up, and then that part's at the end.
No, you see hashtag on the building, and then we make our way to the moon.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's where you're like, I no longer am able to physically comprehend what's happening.
Yeah. We make our way to the moon, where we jump on to the first roller coaster ever on the moon, which is not yet completed, which involves you then plummeting to Earth.
Wait, you're skipping the Roots are on the moon, and they're in spacesuits, and this was my issue, because this is where Jimmy turns to us and writes a thank you note to Earth. And also, when he was in the city with his wife, there was the Barack Obama sign we didn't talk about. But anyway, he's the Roots are in spacesuits, yet Jimmy is not. I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Not that that's a stupid point for me to be like, what's the science here? But
we also didn't burn up whenever we went through the atmosphere and came back into the Earth's gravity.
Well, I don't know the science behind riding seats that float into outer space and out. But like, so he does the thank you note. Okay, this is a part that specifically stood out for me in the attraction, because so when you go to sit in the seats, you'll be thinking there in the very front row, there's like this metal fence, and I was like, that kind of sucks that it's blocking a little bit of the screen. However, this is the point. Jimmy floats, writes the thank you note, turns around, and he puts his feet on that screen and on the metal bracket and launches himself back toward the car. And I was like, okay, so they make a specific reference to there's an actual gate here, so it must be like that on the show or something like that.
Yeah,
because otherwise I was like, you're just blocking the screen for no reason. But anyway, go on. This is the point where I was just like, this ride is completely nonsensical whatsoever.
Oh, it was absolutely nonsensical. You make your way back down to Earth, and then it's a tight race to the end where ultimately we did win. And, I obviously, I don't watch the show, so I did not get every little reference throughout the entire thing. It did not make me motion sick. It did not give me motion sickness, I should say.
Yeah.
But I totally understand how anyone could. I felt like I was close to that point. If I would have had anything to drink, because we were talking about going to get a Duff before we were going to go on, and I said no, that would make me sick. If I would have had it, I definitely know I would have gotten sick on that ride.
Yeah, I felt it a little bit. It was about halfway through, and I find that the trick is to look at the center of the screen and not try and look at the surrounding areas when you're doing that. And that helped me. So like I felt it, but when I was done, I was like, okay, I'm okay. But if I had been like looking around and not somebody who was at this point getting more and more used to being able to figure out I was like, I can't close my eyes because we have to talk about this on the show. But I was feeling it.
Yeah.
So
the fact is, and we can summarize the ride right here, right now. There is a lack of story and that literally all you're doing is racing Jimmy while he's in his Tonight Rider. That's your story.
Well, and it starts out with so many Tonight Show references, because the white pants when you're going down the hallway, there's the band is there, like you said, hashtags there, and then it just kind of devolves into this nonsensical thing.
Yeah.
Where you're like, this has nothing to do with the Tonight Show. This has nothing to do with the race anymore.
Yeah, that's the first part, bad part, and then the second part is obviously the CG, as we already discussed. You can never get fully wrapped in the ride. The 3D is great, albeit the 3D is very similar to, I would say, like Gringotts, where you can see a little bit of ghosting depending on which seat you're in. It's not super crisp 3D like you will get in Despicable Me Minion Mayhem. I think that's still that and Spider-Man are the two best 3D attractions that you can have. This I'd definitely put on the level of Gringotts again. But the CG just completely took you out of it. It just looked fake. It felt fake. While the ride was smooth, there just wasn't enough good there. The length wasn't that bad for it, but again, if the content's crap in the middle, it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or an hour. It wasn't that good. But you do get to exit out in the gift shop. We've talked about the gift shop before. There's lots of cool retro NBC stuff. There's lots of stuff you can buy from the shows. You can take home your little hashtag the panda. You can no longer buy the suit because some idiot bought the suit and was hanging out inside or out front of Universal, goofing around in it. So thanks, person out there. You ruined Ryno's life because he just wanted it.
I wish I had bought it.
Yep, I never got it now because of you. No. So, that is Race Through New York starring Jimmy Fallon. In a nutshell. I'm not going to do it.
This is me in a bloody great nutshell. Help! I'm in a nutshell.
There you go. While I recommend doing it once. Specifically to see the queue, and then once all the charging stations are set up above, I would recommend going in, just hanging out, relaxing, the nice cool area, never even going on the ride. As long as you're not as long as it's not a busy day, don't take away from people who actually want to go on it. That would just be rude. I can't recommend this ride based on the soft openings, but that's why we need to reinforce that this is still a technical rehearsal. Things could change, not like the ride video itself, just little adjustments to how the ride's actually going to move. And so it's not fair to judge it on the first chance or during technical rehearsal at all. We will judge it again once it is fully open, but this is just our opinions going into the grand opening. I think this was kind of a flub of a ride.
The ride itself, maybe, but I look at this as more like this is the prototype of the future of what queues and experiences may be. And not necessarily the experiences in the ride, but just about how the ride, the attraction itself is more than becoming the one main part. It's extending beyond an outside of the building. So I think we'll look back and say, like, this was the first one, and you'll be like, oh God, this was the first one. Look how far we've come from here.
No, it's definitely, the entire thing is an experience. There is an attraction, there's the queue, but overall it is an experience, and it is one to definitely check out, but go in with the lowest of expectations. Please, please, please don't go in thinking it's going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread. It is not.
Do not do the standby queue. If they do not have the virtual queue, don't do the attraction.
Unless it's right before close.
Yes, because that's what it's all meant to be. So when people keep asking, like, what's the most you'll wait for it? I'm like, you're not supposed to be waiting for it. That's the whole idea.
Yep. So that's our thoughts and opinions on the technical rehearsal. As I said, we will report more when it is completely open. We will give you our thoughts, opinions on it again in a much shorter segment. We will not go this in depth for it. So thank you, Ryno. This was a fun conversation to have. I'm sorry the ride couldn't be as fun as the conversation was. Remember, if you want any more information, head over to disunplug.com, home of our show notes for this show and every other single one that we have. Make sure you are liking us on Facebook, Twitter, all of our social media channels that we have out there, and make sure you're subscribed to us on iTunes as well as YouTube, and you are taking the time to hit the thumbs up on the videos and leaving comments letting us know what you think about this attraction, every other thing we're doing. We really love reading the feedback and comments. So thank you guys so much out there for watching. We really do appreciate it. We hope that this was a good one, and we will be back with you next week, not for a live episode. Unfortunately, Ryno will be out of town next week.
Yes.
So we will be having a pre-recorded show going up next week. It's going to be a fun one too. I think we're both really invested in this one. So yeah, you will be able to find that next week sometime around 1:00. So thank you so much again, and we will be back with you next time for another episode of
The Universal Edition.
The Universal Edition of the Diz Unplugged. Oh, no resolutions. I'm just gonna go.